This is my Craftsman 3-head table saw molding cutter. I've made videos on sharpening it, and I've made videos on using it. But we've never really looked at it cutting in the high speed. This is Craftsman molding head cutter, 300 frames per second.
Here you can see the block moving into the blades, and this is at 300 frames per second, and clearly we have the camera pointed off a little bit to the wrong side. I still find the shot itself incredibly fascinating, and I do love watching it chew through. The cutting action on the planer knives is almost more of a scraping than a true cutting. The back wall, I guess you would say, of the cut, and this cut is about 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch deep. That, it does seem to shear. But when you're facing into the grain like this, yeah, it leaves a rough cut.
800 frames per second.
There's no real point for us to linger on this shot. We clearly fudged up pointing it. I still think it's neat. I kind of expected at 800 frames per second that it would show me the cutters themselves, but apparently we got to go even faster to get the cutters themselves in action. You saw in the real speed, the chattering, the uneven feeding. There was a pitch pocket on the bottom. You know how that makes everything so very sticky. And that, I think, is contributing to the jump on the board itself that you can see here.
Here we go. Molding head cutter, 4,000 frames a second. Heaven help us. Are we ready?
Well, if there's such a thing as a money shot, this one is ours. This is what we worked for to get a decent look at how the cutter head actually moves. This is the important one in my mind. And I find this very fascinating. Number one, you can clearly see I have one high cutter blade that is doing about 80% of the work. So I'll have to go and readjust them and see if I can figure out which one it is. There are 3 knives on the molding cutter. I took and painted the edge of one of them blue, but I can't really pick it up on the high speed here. So I'll have to try to do that maybe frame by frame. But yeah, it's just a fascinating look at how it really is just a big spinning scraper. At 4,000 frames a second, this 5 seconds of recording turned into 6 minutes, 38 seconds of video. And I'm not going to subject you all to it here. What I'll do is I'll cut it and I will jump it up about 800%, and we'll zip through the rest of this and get on to the other things. If you want to watch it in its unbroken entirety, you can go to Montana FPS and it will be there. I will put each of the cuts in their entirety there, and you can watch it. In fact, I'm sure at the end of the video there'll be a link. But I'm going to go ahead and speed this up for us. This is the fun thing about the slow motion camera. Even at 800%, this is still pretty slow. But yeah, we're going through it much faster now.
Molding head cutter. Filming underneath. 300 frames a second.
I'm not going to linger on this one. I was hoping we would get to see the chips coming off the blade, but it's not really working out. It is fun to see them bouncing around, and I find it fascinating that it looks as if the head is turning backwards. I think that's just a trick of the high speed. This is an attempt to get the chips, the shavings, going down the dust port, but it's just harder to get a look in there than I thought it would be. Fascinating, though. Here's another look at the Grizzly's dust port in action. In this one you can see a little more. I also took a much bigger cut to force it to make bigger chips.
Overhead shot, 300 frames a second. I hope it works.
This last shot was completely my wife's idea, and I'm glad she talked me into doing it. Sort of an overhead gantry shot. Not sure why we're getting the light flicker when we didn't get the light flicker with the other ones, but still, it's a pretty neat shot, even if the frame rate maybe could have been higher. It's just fun to watch it chew that word away. And I think maybe a faster version of this will become our new ending. And hey, if you've enjoyed this, we got a lot of time and effort invested in it. We'd appreciate the subscription and the likes. Thanks for watching.